All right. Hey, thanks for coming over. You guys are waging war on COVID and other viruses with ions. So what is an ion?
So an ion is an atom, a particle, or a molecule that is electrically charged, either positively or negatively, and they occur naturally in the environment.
So you want ions in the room, basically?
So ions have a number of advantages of being in a room. Ions are nature's way of cleaning the air in a natural environment. What we've been able to do is use a global plasma solution, Needlepoint Bipolar Ionization unit, to introduce ions in numbers into interior spaces, allowing them to do their work like they do in nature.
What does that do in killing a disease or a virus?
So we say they neutralize pathogens. Viruses are neutralized. And they do this by removing their life source, which is hydrogen. Ions are able to latch onto viruses and other pathogens and have the ability to remove hydrogen from them, rendering them inactive. They also have the ability to cause particle reduction.
So is it like there's a monkey on the back, and then this thing comes and gets rid of the monkey or kills it or makes it go flat or something, right? It's
right.
Like it still exists, but it won't do anything.
Correct. It is inactive.
It's inactive.
It cannot replicate, and it can't infect at that point. So we say render it inactive. The other thing it does is cause particle reduction, which is a big component of removing pathogens from the air, as well as other things like pollens, allergens, VOCs, odors, etc. These ions allow for other particles to bond onto each other, creating a larger particle, which in essence gets trapped into filters, HVAC systems, and other methods like masks.
So I was going to your website and I was seeing a lot about this Needlepoint Bipolar Ionization. Why is it called that?
So that's a system that Global Plasma Solutions has come up with to create a plasma field and introduce positive and negative ions into buildings by the million.
So another thing I saw is particle reduction. How does that affect things?
So if you've seen the CDC and ASHRAE, they have recommended that people increase their MERV ratings on filters, which means put a more effective filter in place on your HVAC system. That's causing some problems in the industry because by putting a higher rated filter in a system, you're creating a pressure or a back pressure. You're creating different CFMs that the motors can now blow through, creating pressure issues inside of buildings. What ions enable people to do is when you introduce them, they bond onto each other or agglomerate, and that causes them to become bigger particles, which can then be trapped in lower rated filters. So in essence, if you have a MERV 6 filter and you put ionization in, that filter then becomes a MERV 11. If you have a MERV 11 or 13, potentially it becomes a MERV 16.
So that it makes your filter catch more crud.
Exactly. I always relate it to trying to catch a mosquito in a chain link fence versus trying to catch a much bigger bird.
Dog.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the mosquito goes through the fence, but the dog, not so much. So how long do ions last in the air once you do your thing?
That's a good question. Ions have a lifespan of about 60 seconds. So we have to be able to introduce them into the rooms quickly and effectively so that they can float around and work their magic.
So if you've got like HVAC unit here, and then you're like 400 yards away in the other side of the building, the ion over here, you need more than just one little central place, right?
Correct. You need to introduce multiple ions into the system, and you do the calculations on the duct runs to make sure that sufficient ions are getting into the interior spaces.
So you know how fast the air is moving through the ducts.
Correct.
You know how long it lives, so you can tell who's getting covered.
Correct.
Is there any such thing as like an actual ion measurement tool, or do you have to just know the timing of it?
It's a good question. There are ion devices that measure ion levels in the air, and we can do baseline readings and show people what the concentration of ions are in an interior space before and after introducing ions into the space.
Let's say the ions, good things are happening, the ions are getting out, there's enough of them covering this whole building, people are being protected. Is there like a leftover bad thing that happens afterwards, like a byproduct?
There's no byproducts with ionization. They're completely safe to be in and around, which is one of the big benefits of ionization. In essence, you're flooding the rooms with millions and millions of ions. You can breathe them in, you can be in and around them. There are no byproducts. One of the older systems that used to create ions or ionization systems used to produce ozone, which is a bad thing. This particular product that we use is UL rated to 2998, which is ozone free. So there's no ozone involved in this, no byproducts, completely safe to be in and around.
Okay, all right. So help me figure this out. In the late 90s, my mom went to Sharper Image and got me this air filter. She's like, honey, it's an ion air filter. And I remember I had this thing you would pull up and it had these metal, you have to wipe them off. And I would turn it on, and if you turn it up too high, it makes you like...
Those are the old technology ionization systems we talk about that did produce ozone and stuff that would make you
ozone.
Sneeze. Correct.
Okay, so whenever I would turn it up, it had like a small, large room setting, I would cough and stuff.
Correct.
It would make me cough and just feel I didn't like it. So
that's the ozone that's being produced, and some people currently today in third world countries use ozone as something that attacks pathogens. It's not good for you, but it's certainly effective.
Wow. Does it smell like anything?
It doesn't smell like anything. In fact, you will find that the air inside your building is cleaner, fresher. So you might eliminate some odors from the building. So you might come into your room and say, it does smell a little different in here, but the reason it does that is because you're used to smelling the odors and VOCs and stuff that are in the building that have now been removed. You're basically creating a fresh air environment indoors. By putting ions in.
Like that, what you do not smell is the absence of crud and disease, and Okay, so is needlepoint bipolar ionization safe for like even animals, just everybody?
It is safe, and with over 150,000 buildings that have this installed in them around the country, there are no health issues related to ions or ionization or needlepoint bipolar ionization systems for humans or pets. It's very, very safe to be around, and you can sit in the room and let it do its work.
Do ions occur in nature?
It's a good question. They do occur in nature, and we find ions up in the higher elevations and at places where there are waves, waterfalls, lightning creates ions. And you often hear people say when they're up in the mountains that the air is fresher, they can think clearer, you just feel energized. And so ions are present. They're usually at a much lower concentration, and when you get into buildings, you see very low concentrations, sometimes below 200 per cubic centimeter. What we like to see them in a good range is above 2,000 per cubic centimeter, which makes them effective.
So your systems get them up to the 2,000 range?
Our systems will get them way past the 2,000 range. In fact, they can go up to the 80,000 to 100,000 range, depending on how you're delivering them. What happens in life is that people go indoors. Indoor environments become toxic. You've got VOCs, you've got smells, you've got all kinds of things in buildings. The air quality is low. Without introducing ions, it remains low, and people get lethargic at work. They don't perform. With ions being introduced, you're removing all of those volatile organic compounds, you're removing allergens, you're creating a much better, safer environment for people to be in. And then you see productivity levels of people going up too. They feel better, they want to work, they're energized. So it provides that portion of the equation too.
So how does needlepoint bipolar technology stack up against some of the UV light stuff that I've heard about out there?
That's a good question. So there's a number of things that I believe are better in introducing ions. One is coverage. UV light has a smaller range of coverage when you're talking about a far UV range, which is safe to sit under. And the safety aspect, ions you can sit in and amongst. If you get UV light that's north of 230 nanometers, you can't be under the light. It can affect you. The second thing is that UV lights need to be replaced every 3,000 to 6,000 hours, depending on what you're using. They lose their intensity over time, and they're not as effective over time. We've seen ions do not. They are constantly being generated, introduced. They're fresh. They're in the system, and they're working against pathogens, VOCs, allergens, and everything else that they bring. So what happens if you're left under UV light? Because I think that's what happened to me when I was little. I think my mom left me by the microwave a lot. I think she would microwave food and leave me right there. Okay, so where and how are these units installed on the systems? Because people already have a building and they have HVAC. How do you do it? Great question. We have application for every type of air handling system, whether it be a split system or a rooftop unit package, a air handler, or anything else. We determine what the CFM is, and the size of the unit will determine what global plasma solution ionization system we put on there. We do have systems for every type of application, and we've installed them on PTAC units, we've installed them on rooftop units, air handlers, and everything in between to introduce the ions into the buildings through the ductwork.
Let's talk about the RAF 2020. This unit is your baby. What is it?
So in installing these systems around the country, we saw there was a need for a portable unit. And over time our company has been able to develop products around other products to make them better. We decided to make a portable unit that was fully variable, that you could place in a room, move around, and have the ability to clean a 100 square foot room or a 4,000 square foot room. We were able to do this with our motor experience and the ability to communicate with motors and take the brains and the motors, put them into a system with ionization, and deliver the package as a portable unit.
So you're saying that like any portable unit out there right now isn't as flexible as yours then, or?
So there are only, I've only seen one other portable unit out on the market that has this combination. When I say combination, I'm talking about a ionization unit and a filter system. Our package is fully variable, which makes it very, very versatile. You can place it and ramp it up. You can do a very small room or a very large room. In fact, some of the schools that are using it now have them in the hallways. When there's a basketball game or a meeting or a parent meeting, they'll wheel 4 of these in there and place them in the room, and they'll clean the room with these units.
So that makes sense, because back to the problem of you get your big unit over here, and then here's a bigger building, say it's a medium-sized Walmart, and all these people on this half of the building are being covered well. Over here they're not. You could just roll a couple of these units in here and help out the spots that, right?
You can. There's definitely an application for the portable units that we've seen out in the market, and those are schools, buildings, conference rooms, boardrooms,
schools,
etc. And in measuring ions, once we've installed units with longer duct runs, there are certain areas inside of buildings that won't get the same ion concentration that you'd like to see. Those are perfect places for portable units.
Did you hear that, Olathe USD 233? Okay, so I've seen air filtration stuff out on the market, and it's probably getting more and more prevalent. What's the difference between what I'm seeing out there and yours?
That's a great question. Ours not only filters the air, so we have multiple filter racks. We could put anything from a HEPA filter all the way down to a MERV 6 filter and a pre-filter in there. So we are filtering the air, we're turning the air in rooms. Ours has an ionization unit too. So not only are we filtering all the air and turning the air in the rooms, we are also pushing ions out into the system that is scrubbing everything in the air, on the surfaces, hard and soft surfaces. So you're constantly working on pathogens, VOCs, and everything else that's in the air in buildings.
So let's say that I have an application and I get even one of your portable units, put it in the room, and turn it on. How would I know that it's working?
One, the light will be on the unit, so you'll be able to see that the unit's actually on. Secondly, you can measure ions in the air, and we can come in and do a baseline, and we know what ion counts are inside of buildings, and we can show you unequivocally that there are ions being introduced into the building at any time.
So how long does one of these units last if you use it like 5-6 days a week?
So these units will last 16 years.
Wow.
That is phenomenal compared to anything else out on the market currently. As you know, UV lights have a much shorter lifespan. You've got to replace the bulbs. Out of this unit, you will get 16 years worth of ionization production or ion production, and it'll run for 16 years in the building, cleaning and doing its magic.
So how did this whole thing come together? Because I know that you're in a related field, but your experience, I mean, you guys have come up with something really cool here, but...
That's a great question. So without our experience in the motor industry and the drive industry that we have at FridgeWise, we would not have come up with this unit. Obviously, CAFNO is a medical distribution company that had the ability to create this and fund it. FridgeWise came with the technology in the motors and the drives, and putting that all together, we were able to come up with a complete package that is now available on the market.
So FridgeWise has the deep knowledge on motors, how to control them, how to measure them, blades of fans and everything. And then CAFNO is really it comes along with the medical side of
CAFNA comes along with the development of the portable unit and the theory. FridgeWise introduces its knowledge of motor drive combinations to give us the unit that is variable and very flexible in the market.
Okay, so let's say I have the ultimate cleaning people, and they come in and do the best job, smells Pine Sol fresh every day. How is your RAF 2020 better than a good cleaning person?
That's a great question. This is one that I really want people to understand, is that people who are fogging, cleaning with supplies, wiping down surfaces, etc., very effective when you do it. So cleaning crew comes in the morning. They come in, they wipe down all the surfaces, whether they fog or wipe them down with different methods. They leave, people come into work. First person walks in for a meeting in the morning, they have COVID or something else. That is now in the system.
Okay.
Until the cleaners or the foggers or the people who are doing that come back in and spray again, that is now in the system and can be transmitted, whether it's in the air or on the surface. Ionization is that we're introducing ions into the system. We're creating a fog of cleaners or scrubbers that are 24 hours a day are scrubbing and cleaning. So it's like having those cleaners in and around you all day long, spraying hospital-grade disinfectant safely. So now somebody comes in with COVID, you have ionization units in place, they come in, that's in the air, immediately the ions are starting to work on the pathogens. Immediately they're cleaning, and within a certain period of time, those are gone.
Okay, so let's say I got the vid, and I come in to work, and I put my hand on the desk, and it's got some snot on it, and I go like this. That's going to be there till the people come the next morning, but with the air scrubbers, with ionization, it would be gone faster.
It will be gone within 30 minutes.
Wow.
It'll be 90% neutralized within 10 minutes.
What about the side of a surface? Would that be clean?
Good question. As you know, UV light only cleans what it touches. So there's shadowing. You can't clean under desks. You can't clean people that are manually cleaning things. There's human error. They're not going to wipe every surface down.
I'm not going to wipe the underside of the desk or look for free gum or anything. I'm not going to do that.
Ions everywhere. If you could illuminate ions, you'd be sitting in a fog of ions that surround you. They're touching everything. It's like being in a mist of scrubbers. Everything. Shadows, under chairs, on surfaces, hard surfaces, soft surfaces, air, the air we're breathing. It's scrubbing and cleaning that 24/7 as they introduced.
Okay, so, I mean, this is a global problem. Are you guys kind of set up to serve people internationally?
We are, and we have made a big push into the international market. The US is lucky to have ductwork infrastructure that other countries don't have. For instance, in Africa, there's not regular buildings don't have ductwork like we do in America. So introducing ions into the systems there becomes more challenging. With the portable units, you can place them in buildings and introduce ions at the source in the buildings all day long. We've had a very large amount of interest in Africa and in other countries for this unit, and currently we're shipping out to 4 different countries for testing.
So you have total different power grids. What do they run? 221 over there?
Yes, they run 220 volt and they are 50 hertz. So we have the motors and drives and transformers and everything set up to plug right into the wall in any country in the world.
Do the plugs look different? Are they like in a circle or something?
They are.
Okay, I'm just curious. So you wheel this RAF 2020 in, it's going to clean the air, you plug it in. How loud is that going to be?
So generally speaking, we run them at roughly about 30%, which the dBs on that would be on the scale at about 45 to 50, which is like a little bit louder than a refrigerator running in your house at that range. Now, if you have it at 100%, it's going to be louder, and that application would be on factory floors and stuff like that, where you can run them at 100%. If we wanted to scrub a room, we can certainly.
Is it so like a gymnasium, like an average junior high gymnasium? That would be 100%, right?
If it was full of people, yes.
It was full of people.
Yes, or not.
But it'd be over in the corner
scrub.
or something. It wouldn't like take over the place. No. Yeah, it'd just be like a fan. And then you have the smaller. You have one that's like this, like a lunchbox size.
So currently we have the RAF 2020. We have the MIG, the mobile ion generator, which is a smaller unit. Doesn't push as much CFM, and will clean up to 800 to 1,000 square feet. It's also fully variable. Both units are fully Bluetooth capable. Enabled, and so that's a great advantage. And we also are currently working on a vehicle unit. We've put 10 into a bus system that are working very well, and we hope to see them on light rails, trains, buses, etc. moving forward.
You're saying that you're going to try to improve on the little green tree that hangs on the rearview mirror. You can do better than that?
Yes.
In the car, because that's going to be hard to replace. That thing's been around for 100 years. We keep talking about clean a room. What does that mean if a room is clean?
That's a good question. So it's the number of turns of air. To create a fresh environment or a safer environment, you want to cycle the air in a room as many times as you can through a filtration system, and you want to pump as many ions into the system to scrub the air and surfaces. They're recommending about 8 turns of air an hour in a room. So if you can turn the air 8 times in an hour in a room through filters and provide ionization, you're providing an incredibly safe environment for people to be working in.
So that means you're breathing all new air 8 times an hour.
Correct.
Okay. What's a good number to do? You guys do it 8 times. Is
6 to 8 times an hour is optimal.
okay. Good. Whereas the air we have is more like half a time an
Maybe
hour.
1 to 2.
A 1 to 2, just with standard, like this thing that's going right now. What do you think about that vent right there? Is that optimized? Is that good? I see dust on
Provide
it.
you with a lot of stale air.
All right, thanks. Dude, that was fun. Thanks for coming over.
Thanks so much.
Don't hit the microphone with your head. We'll see you next time on, you can't do that on television. See you later.
That scared me.
I know.